Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. This is Lifestyle Critic, where we break down movies and TV shows into their core elements, and in this video we are going to be reviewing New Moon, which is the second entry in the very popular Twilight Saga franchise, and unfortunately it is also the weakest entry in the entire franchise as well. I mean, it just felt like a bit of a badly acted soap instead of a big epic fantasy film, which was quickly remedied in the next movie, but unfortunately as far as the second film is concerned, it just isn't that great. I mean, Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart are the two characters that really made the franchise, and the fact that they're hardly in it together in this film, and actually Robert Pattinson is hardly in it at all in the first two acts of the movie, and instead they have Taylor Lautner kind of leading the film, where he wasn't that great of an actor yet, and his character wasn't really front leading either, and so the movie as a whole just really suffered and was really dull, and I'm going to be breaking it all down for you in this movie review. So from a storyline point of view, it is Bella Swan's 18th birthday, and she has a bit of a nightmare that she is going to grow into an older woman, whereas Edward Cullen is going to stay as a young person for the rest of his life. She is then very quickly having dinner at the Cullen household for her birthday, and she's opening some presents and gets a paper cut, which leads Jasper, the vampire, to jump and attack her. Feeling bad for her life and feeling that he's always putting her life in jeopardy, Edward Cullen decides that him and the Cullen household are going to leave for good, which leads Bella Swan to have depression and is always dreaming and thinking about the Cullen household. She then really quickly grows closer to the Jacob character. She becomes a bit of an adrenaline junkie and learns a lot more about the lives of the werewolves. This is just very much dragged on, and then we enter into the final act of the movie, where Edward and the Cullens have a bit of a return, and we're also introduced to the volturi, who are a bit of vampire overlords. I mean, the final act does get a little bit better. It's not necessarily as epic as you would want it to be, but despite that, it just doesn't make up for the fact that this movie as a whole was just really dull and really uninspiring. So from a casting characters point of view, unfortunately they're just not that great in this movie. I mean, in future installments they do get a lot better, but as far as New Moon is concerned, unfortunately it's not that great. So let's go through them one by one. So first up we have Kristen Stewart, who makes her return as the Bella Swan character. She is still the lead character in the movie and is narrating everything, and she has a really believable arc in terms of being really obsessed with the Cullens and then very quickly going into depression when they leave, and also having a bit of a rebellious arc as well. So I feel like her journey in this movie, whilst it wasn't that exciting, it was actually really believable. Next up we have Robert Pattinson, who is returning as the Edward Cullen character, and like I said before, he's just hardly in this movie, even though he's the best actor from the core three. But I appreciate from a storyline point of view, they had to remove him for a little bit so that they can grow the Bella and Jacob characters. When he eventually does return in the third and final act of this movie, it does improve somewhat, as the vampires are a lot more interesting than the werewolves are. But you know, that being said, it doesn't necessarily save the movie that much. Next up we have Taylor Lautner, who is in this movie as the Jacob character, and unfortunately he's just not able to hold or carry the movie as well as the other installments are. I mean, the character is actually pretty boring compared to the others. The werewolves, like I said, aren't as interesting as the vampires are, and Taylor Lautner's acting isn't as great as the other characters is. Next up we have Billy Burke, who also returns as the Charlie character, who plays Bella's father. So he doesn't know how to handle all of Bella's depression and screaming that she does in the nighttime. Next up we have Anna Kendrick, who also returns as the Jessica character, and she's the friend to Bella, but she doesn't also know how to handle Bella's rebellious arc as well. So from a casting characters point of view, whilst they have decent cast in this movie, unfortunately they don't give their best performances in New Moon. So from a visuals point of view, unfortunately New Moon isn't that great either. I mean, it's a lot of angsty relationship building between the Jacob character and the Bella character. I mean, the first transformation that you see of the werewolves happening in this movie does look pretty decent, but unfortunately from a cinematography point of view, compared to the other movies in the franchise, is just not that impressive. So from a comparison point of view, unfortunately, like I said before, New Moon is easily the weakest entry in the entire Twilight Saga. I mean, nothing that substantial or that gripping happens in this movie, apart from Bella Swan and Jacob's romance kind of growing, and the volturi characters being introduced. I mean, in terms of future installments, These two aspects were really important, as the future installments were just able to kind of go with certain things and were able to be quite adrenaline fueled as a result, and were really exciting because of that. But as a standalone entry, unfortunately New Moon is easily the worst one in the Twilight saga. So overall, I'm sure it will come as no surprise that I didn't really enjoy New Moon that much. I thought the storyline was really dragged out. I thought it was pretty boring and pretty dull, and fundamentally it was pretty uneventful. Like I said, they did lay the groundwork for future installments, but as a standalone entry it just wasn't that great, and so for all of those reasons I have to give it a 2.5 out of 10. I'd love to hear what you think, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise I look forward to seeing you in my next video.